Jam on toast!
Hey there, welcome to the Jam. I'm Cam. Right today, the toast is to RWBY, Season 1. As I'm filming this, RWBY is currently in Season 2. This is a Roosterteeth production. RWBY was created by Monty Oom. Monty Oom was the guy who brought us all that lovely mocap stuff from Red vs. Blue. Wonderful, wonderful job. Thank you. Amazing job on RWBY. It's just got a completely different animation style, which I hope is a lot easier for them because they're doing a lot of good stuff with it. The short sell on this one is that RWBY is a girl who gets elected to go to an elite academy of monster hunters. To elaborate just a little bit, she gets put on a team of 4 with their initials spelling out RWBY with a W instead of a U. My love for this, of course, is the mo-capture animation. You can definitely tell places where it's used and then places where it's straight animation. Or if I'm being fooled entirely, because it's possible, I love it even more because it looks like they're using some of that mo-capture technology. My only hate for this is that there are occasionally times where there's just fucking whiny shits, because RWBY is a young girl, and the RWBY team is 4 girls, and they all have higher octave voices, and occasionally when they're arguing and complaining about nonsense, because they do that, they're essentially middle to high school students, they get whiny, and it's kind of annoying on occasion. Not a lot, but it happens, and it's like, okay, I'm ready for something cool to happen. The MVP for this, of course, been honorable mention to Monty Oom, but I'm going to go say Lindsay Jones, who voices RWBY, or I guess RWBY would be the MVP since it's an animation. She's voiced by Lindsay Jones. Lindsay does an amazing job voicing this character with a total range of emotions, and the character is definitely the driving force of the show. There's no doubt there. Let's get on to the categories.
Aesthetics.
Look, I'm not quite as impressed as seasons 9 and 10 of Red vs. Blue, but it is pretty amazing, and they do some really colorful stuff. Because it's an anime style of 3D animation, not only do they do some wonderful, crazy, like monster fighting scenes where they're in the air and they swing the camera, but they do some very bright, stylized animation just on the characters and the monsters. And the scenery even, there's that Stonehenge thing that's just amazing. And then a lot of places around Central, the school, are pretty neat too. They do really good about pulling some very high-powered music to help amp up the emotions that are being felt. They're really good about setting angles of characters. There's one kid in particular who's kind of out of his depth, and he feels small, and there's a lot of scenes that example that. Whereas later on, after he starts to build a little bit of confidence, he starts looking more even with people, where he's at least standing up next to them side by side. So it's really neat to see someone example that like they do in anime, where in Western society we really don't touch on that so much when it's animated characters. So very happy for that. Aesthetics gets a 96.
Character development.
This first season is almost nothing about character development. We get introduced to RWBY, we get introduced to what she does, we get introduced to the villains, we get introduced to what they do. We get introduced to Central, we get introduced to her sister, we get introduced to her classmates, we get to see what they do. We go on to the next thing, and it just kind of repeats itself a lot because there is a whole beautiful universe of potential here that we need to be introduced to, because the world itself is a character in the same facet. We need to know more about the principal, we need to know more about this area to actually understand it, the monsters and what they actually are. If there's other enemies in play, there's so much to actually develop that I honestly don't think they shoved all of it into the first season, and in the second season we're still playing up development, but we're moving forward in the story too, and they're doing a very good job of balancing. Character development gets a 90.
Storyline.
Yes, we are moving forward in the story, but at a turtle's pace. Development normally takes away a lot from the storyline because we have to stop and talk about this thing before we can move on to the next action. But using the development as a staging point, we move into big battles and stories of how to fight this monster, that monster, or getting to the next stage of being accepted and figuring out what team you're on and going through classes and dealing with things to do with the Faunus, which is a non-human race in that world. And while it's a great story, I think they sacrificed a little bit of it to make the development, to make the next season even better. And honestly, the characters are really what make this not necessarily what they're doing. Storyline gets an 80.
Compulsion.
Look, this is a fun little show. Occasionally, my attention does drop off from here to there. I think if I was watching it all in like one big set on the DVD, I think I would be better off. And I probably need to pick that up, I'll be honest. But it does fade from time to time, but once you get drawn back in, it's either something really moving, it's a great character interaction, or it's a great battle scene, because the action will be enough for you to want to watch this. I think you just watch the action scenes where they're fighting monsters and stuff. I think that would be pretty entertaining all its own. Not a lot of substance to it, but hey, Compulsion gets an 88. Next to all that up, you get an average of 88.5. For my rep review, I'm going to say this is one that's going to knock your socks off and then cuddle and cozy them back on for a warm, heartfelt feeling about the characters, because the girls do a lovely job of voicing them. There's a couple guys, I apologize. The characters themselves do really kind of reach out to you, and Nora is definitely one of my more favorite ones just because she's got that perfect innocence to her. That's it for me. Have a nice day. I am Cameron.
If you want to see anything else we're up to, go ahead and click the annotations and they'll take you to our other channels.